Hi, this is New York Times Bestselling author and TV and film producer Zane, and I'm here taking the Filmmaking 101 workshop series with Keysha Lee TV. I'm so excited about learning new things and inviting my friends, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
Thank you so much for joining us on Keysha Lee TV. Can you tell us just what made you want to take the Filmmaking 101 workshop series?
I came across this series on Facebook, and so that's a good place to promote, FYI. And I was excited about it, and I immediately started sending the link out to some of my friends, and I signed up for it immediately. I love learning new things, and even though I have a lot of experience, I always feel like I can learn something else. I have a really big thirst for knowledge, and I want to understand everything in the filmmaking process. I've only actually been like executive producer, well, I've been in a lot of stuff, but executive producer, creator, and that kind of stuff, but it pays to learn all the other things as well.
Tell us about your career as an author and now how you decided to get into TV and film, or why you decided to get into TV and film.
I think there's a natural progression for most writers to want to eventually see their works come to life. So at this point, I've done 2 television/cable series. I've had a featured film theatrical release with Lionsgate, and I also have done a stage play. And now I've done also a scripted podcast. I love doing different things. And so for me, it was a natural progression. And it was really cool, too, for the first time to write something and to realize that people had to act out everything I said. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
What surprised you about taking your work from the written book, novel, to the big screen? Did you feel like it was more detailed, or you really had to make it more dramatic? You don't have to make anything more dramatic. What was missing, or how did you feel that transition from the words on the page to the big screen?
The hardest thing for me was learning to realize that there was a budget, and to realize that I had to create a location bucket and all kinds of, because I've written all of my own scripts and been my own showrunner. So that was the most difficult thing maybe for a book. You can have people on the top of Mount Everest, doing whatever, but for a television show or a movie, you have to be cognizant of the limitations and also of the time limit. Books don't have a time limit, and books don't have a budget. So that was the biggest thing for me, was learning how to transform myself into that.
And so what would be your biggest piece of advice? Because people want to remain in the marketplace. And if you have great content, I feel you can live forever. You just move through the different mediums, and there's so much available. So what would be your biggest piece of advice to get people from, if they're an author, to get their work on the screen, on the stage, on the small screen, and how would you recommend they make that transition?
I think the hardest thing is just finding someone to let you do what you want to do. And you have to realize that sometimes doors close for a reason. So my advice is to never give up, but to also realize when it's time to move on, when something's not working out. Okay. And also, I would say, don't try to emulate someone else. Try to do what it is that you do. Don't let it stress you out, because one of the biggest questions I get is, how do I do everything that I do? And for me, it's because I never feel like I'm working. I feel like people need to walk in their truth and walk in their passion. And it gets uncomfortable for me when I try to step out of that, and I walk away from it. Okay. So in order to do this for a long time, you don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to stress yourself out. You don't want to get hooked up with the wrong people. You just have to learn to find that right team, if you need a team, and to also be happy with what you do. Because if you're not happy doing it, it's going to show.
I think that says it all. Finding your passion, doing what you love, you don't feel like you're working, and that is what it's all about. And that way you don't get that burnout and that stress. You said it all. We are so honored to have you as a guest on Keysha Lee TV. We thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add for those budding filmmakers in this Atlanta market, this Georgia market where it's booming? Any last comments that you'd like to make that I didn't ask about?
My suggestion is, don't feel like you always have to wear the crown. There is a lot of filmmaking and production and opportunities here in Atlanta. And I think that people need to realize sometimes you may have to be the second AD.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you may have to, be a production assistant. The key is to stay out there because you never know who you may meet during those opportunities. While you're doing that, you may meet the one person that can make your dreams come true. And if not that, you're continuing to get experience, you're continuing to grow, and you're continuing to learn the industry. And that's what's extremely important. So don't always feel like it has to be your project that you're working on, that you have to be the executive producer, that you have to be the director, and that kind of stuff. Be willing to help other people's dreams come true, so that hopefully somebody will one day make yours come true.
That's awesome and that's beautiful. And I always tell my students and any participants in my workshop, learn everything. Be willing to do anything. And so when an opportunity comes, I can do it. And that's how you get your foot in the door, and then you're able to do what you really want to do. But you never know, you could discover a gift by, as you said, learning everything and being willing and being open that you never knew about. Well, this is another episode of Keysha Lee TV. We have the author of the Zane series, and she is now a movie maker. She's into theater and TV, and we can't wait to see what she's doing next.